From Isaiah chapter 40. A voice rings out, proclaim. Another asks, what shall I proclaim? All flesh is grass, all its goodness like flowers of the field. Grass withers, flowers fade, when the breath of the Lord blows upon them. Indeed, we are but grass. We wither, we fade. But the word of our God is always fulfilled. Psalm 23. If you know it, we'll do it in English first, and then I'll sing it in Hebrew. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binaot deshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'maglei tzedek, yancheni b'maglei tzedek, yancheni b'maglei tzedek, leman shemo. Gam ki elech begetz al mavet, lo yirara ki ata imadi, shivtecha umishantecha, shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, neged tzorerai, dishanta vashemen roshi, dishanta vashemen roshi, dishanta vashemen roshi, kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed, yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti beveit Adonai, v'shavti beveit Adonai liorech yamin. Joel Barry Appelbaum was born in Brooklyn, New York on July 23, 1949, to Abraham, who went by Paul, and Mildred Appelbaum. His father was a peddler. Joel remembered him selling tchotchkes at the Thanksgiving Day parade in New York City. They lived in the projects. Growing up, Joel shared a bedroom with his sister Marilyn until she got married at age 17. Joel was on the track team in his high school. To avoid the draft, though, he put on a huge amount of weight. Joel went to college at the University of Buffalo. It was there that he met Stan Feldman, who was to become a lifelong friend, and who, as it turned out, had grown up very near Joel in Brooklyn, which actually wasn't much of a coincidence. As Stan tells it, Buffalo was the state university farthest away from Brooklyn. Lots of Brooklyn kids went there for its optimal balance of tuition, small, and distance from home, great. After graduating from Buffalo, Joel got a master's in rehab counseling at the University of Arizona and relocated to the Boston area, where he worked in special education as an administrator. He loved kids. Joel and Stan were close the rest of their lives, over 50 years. Joel was best man at Stan and Jennifer's wedding. Stan was best man at Joel and Linda's wedding. In 1980, Joel and Stan opened a restaurant in Baltimore, Wings and Things, in Harbor Place. They had the idea that they would bring the buffalo wings they had enjoyed so much in college to this area, and it was a good idea. They were successful and proceeded to open more stores in D.C., at International Square near 19th and K, another at the pavilion of the old post office building, and another at Union Station. There were at least 7 locations at one point, and they had a good run. Though after handling so much raw chicken, Joel said he was chickened out and could no longer eat the stuff. After a number of years, those restaurants were sold or franchised, and Joel became a salesman for Acme Paper, selling to universities, hospitals, and schools. He was a good salesman. People just liked him. He was an expert schmoozer. Joel and Linda met through a personal ad that Joel had placed in the Washingtonian magazine. I'll read a piece of that ad with some commentary from the family. SJM, single Jewish male. Product of the 60s, but not stuck there. Linda says that last phrase turned out not to be entirely true. Successful entrepreneur who desires to share Fred Astaire movies and National Theater productions, vacations on the beach, and Atlantic City weekends. When he wrote that about Atlantic City, he may have been thinking gambling, whereas when Linda read it, she interpreted it as being about the beaches in Atlantic City. Whatever the accuracy of that personal ad, it led to a long and loving relationship. Joel was an independent thinker. He was irreverent, even irascible. He took the road less traveled, and he encouraged this independence in his family and in his nieces and nephews. You don't have to do what your parents did, he'd say. And yet, even as he was a rebel, he was also a voice of calm in the family. Joel was a loyal man who overlooked faults. And though it took him some years, he learned how to interact calmly even with the most difficult members of his clan.
Mother-in-law.
Don't need to say it.
I didn't say it. Joel loved to have a good time. For him, a good time often included listening to the Grateful Dead. It might involve a drink on their porch. He enjoyed friendly betting on sports events with friends and family, and occasionally he'd go to a casino. Joel was a great dad. He coached his daughter Molly's soccer team, and he attended all her other events. And Joel supported his son Sam's interests, going to all the events at his various schools. More recently, he went to see Sam every day, bringing meds and food, whatever he needed. He loved his children, and that love wasn't just a feeling. it was embodied in his acts of kindness. Joel was a huge supporter of Linda and her organization, Cradle of Hope. In the early days, he was the guy inside the Barney costume at their annual picnics, with little children clinging to his legs. In later years, Joel made weekly bank deposits for the agency, made sure they were well supplied with paper products, made fundraising calls for their annual phone-a-thon, and put up with Linda's late-night calls, weekend work, and many trips to Russia, China, Guatemala, Ghana, and Kazakhstan. We find ourselves, at this point in the Jewish year, reading again the Joseph story, a story filled with unexpected twists and reversals of fortune. But amidst all that plot, what moves me most is the growth of Joseph's character. Joseph starts out as an awkward young man. He's either a braggart or completely clueless about himself, about how his words might affect others. Joseph so angers his brothers that he finds himself thrown into a pit and sold into slavery at the age of 17. And things continue badly in his new home in Egypt, where he finds himself once again thrown into a pit, this time by his jealous master who owned him. Joseph didn't know how to get along with difficult people. In particular, the subtleties required when dealing with those with some power over him, be they his 10 big brothers, or in Egypt, his jealous master and the master's seductive wife. These niceties of personal interaction eluded him. But then Joseph changes. We're not told how or why exactly. Joseph figures out a way to escape his dungeon and ends up even pleasing Pharaoh. We in America today are all too aware that the tenure of an assistant to a leader with autocratic tendencies can be short-lived and unpleasant. But Joseph pulls it off. He is not who he used to be. He exemplifies one of the foundational principles of Judaism. Change is possible. Personal growth can make the world a better place. Joel Appelbaum did many different things in his life. As an entrepreneur, he was daring, bringing us those buffalo wings from Buffalo. And not just in his professional life was he adaptable, but also in his family life. He became good at dealing with difficult people. He was a calming influence, which was good for him and good for all who came into contact with him. On November 30th, just over a month ago now, Joel was in his cardiologist's waiting room for a checkup when he went into cardiac arrest. He was unconscious for days, but he fought back, and after nearly a month away from home, including a week in rehab, he returned home just last Thursday. He was elated to be home. He just wanted to hold his wife. And he and Linda had 2 good hours together, but then, climbing up a few stairs, he collapsed and could not be revived. Our condolences to all of Joel's beloved family, his wife Linda, his children Molly and Sam, his sister Marilyn and her husband Stan, his in-laws Billy and Cookie and their children Margie, and children and spouses Margie and Steve, Robert and Nancy, Ronald and Janie, and his nieces Jody and Mary and their husbands Greg and Bill, and I don't want to leave out the great nieces and great nephews. Now we're going to hear from some friends and family who are going to speak at not too great length, because we do need to get to the cemetery, I'm told. So the first speaker is his sister, Marilyn Tinter.
Thank you, Rabbi. I'm amazed. I shouldn't be amazed, but I'm thrilled at all the people here to honor him.
Talk closer to the mic.
I said I'm thrilled to have all the people here to honor him. He deserves it. Joel, better known as Jolie in his younger years, was 3.5 years younger than me, but a generation apart. I lived in the world of the 50s and Joel in the 60s. And oh, what a difference those 10 years made. I became a mom in my early 20s while Joel became a dad in his late 30s. While I was living the typical suburban life, Joel was out in the world backpacking across the United States or Europe, living in communes, experimenting, indulging, and living the life that I secretly think I wanted to live. And maybe that's why we were so close. I never criticized his lifestyle. As a matter of fact, I envied what he was living. Even the time he surprised us at our doorway in Syosset. It was Jody's 4th birthday, and we were celebrating in the backyard, swing set and all. Our parents, Stan's parents, and lots of family and friends. The doorbell rings, and there stands Joel. I don't know how he got there, where he had been, but the only way I can describe him was grizzly. Wild hair down to his here, with a beard to match, clothes filthy with mud. He was a mess. He'd been traveling cross country or Europe, I'm not sure which trip, and his backpack was lost or stolen on the way. So he'd been living in those clothes for, I don't know how long. Stan took one look at him and said, "Go right up to the bathroom and get clean, or your mom is going to pass out." And all Joel did was laugh and laugh and laugh. And that was my brother Joel. I know how he made us all laugh, and we'll always have to cherish that. I just wanted to add one thing. It's going to take a second. Linda had gotten an email from one of his acquaintances. I had it, and now.
I think maybe I have that. That's the Jankovitz.
Yeah.
I have that.
Oh, yeah.
I can read it if you like.
It's fine. Okay, so this is the email. Linda, I'm a distant friend of Joel's and was so sad to hear about his passing and so sorry for your loss. Joel grew up about a half a mile from me in Brooklyn, but I met him in Cambridge around 1974 through our mutual friend Bob Roth. I played with Joel on the Urban Blight softball team for a year, but we rarely saw each other socially. About 40 years later, after no contact with Joel, I get a call from him out of the blue asking me how I was doing. He heard, probably from Bob, that my mother and sister and brother-in-law had all died within 4 months of each other. I couldn't believe that Joel, after 40 years, would call me. Who does that? I was so depressed, and Joel's act of compassion and empathy and courage helped me snap out of it. And a few years later, Joel started playing Words with Friends, and we connected and sent messages to each other online. And then about a year ago, a friend of mine died, and her husband, Paul, who also knew Joel peripherally, calls me and said, "Joel called me." Who does that? Joel did that. I just wanted to share how much I appreciated Joel. The last word he put down in Words with Friends was floats. Here's to a life well lived and gratitude for all Joel did for others. I hope he floats off to a better place. Bruce.
Next, Joel's friend Stan Feldman.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for being here. If you remember Joel, not to argue with the rabbi, I'm just one of many of Joel's friends, and I was assigned only to have a couple minutes, which is really difficult to summarize 50+ years of friendship in a couple minutes. But the first thing that came in mind was really when I got to know Joel. We knew each other in Buffalo, but we traveled in different circles. We were friendly, but not friends per se. I was traveling, it was like 50 years ago, like early 70s, from Florida across country by myself, and I was hungry and tired, and I was in Arizona, and remembered that somebody told me that Joel Appelbaum lived in Tucson. At that time, I pulled into a gas station and called information, and fortunately there was only one Appelbaum spelled that way in the state of Arizona. So I called his house and gave me directions. The definition of a mensch, if you look it up, could be Joel Appelbaum. I arrived at his house, dirty, hungry, tired. He proceeded within 20 minutes to put a steak in front of me, a beer, and other implements to relax me. I was totally exhausted, and his house was like a zoo. I don't know if they were having a party or this was the normal state of being. It was like incredible. And he found a quiet place, put me down to bed, and I passed out. I wake up in the morning and I go into the bathroom, and I sit down and I look in, and in the bathtub is Joel Appelbaum. He gave me his bed and then proceeded to sleep in the bathtub. The generosity of spirit cemented in my head and really maintained through our friendship during the 70s and the years we were in business together. Never once was there an argument or a thing about money or anything. He was the most forgiving, loving person I think I've ever known. I know it was limited on time. A mutual friend, Arnie Danzig, who you could look up on Facebook, sent her a beautiful letter, but I just wanted to read one portion which really captured a portion of time. This is from Arnie. One powerful memory was 1969, Vietnam War and draft lottery. Joel's birthday is July 23rd, the same as my brother's. I can't recall if we watched the drawing together, but he was a 151 and I was a 162, and we both realized we would likely be drafted. The dilemma of fighting in the war led us both to look for ways to stay out. Joel and I adopted similar strategies, attending to our respective weights. Joel to gain weight, and I to lost weight. Happily, we both failed our initial physicals. My early memories of Joel was arriving at different people's apartments with boxes of pastries he would buy at midnight at the all-night bakery that they marked down half price so that he could share with people and enable him to gain the weight necessary to get out of the draft. Again, I'm just one of many and just feel honored to have been Joel's friend. Thanks.
Thank you, Stan. Next, Michael Rifkin, another friend.
So many roads. Hikes in Zoar Valley, in Algonquin State Park, and in the Berkshires. Lots of Dead shows and Garcia shows, shows at the Performance Center in Cambridge. A May of '72 road trip to here, D.C., to protest the war, and a failed attempt to shut down the city to force an end to it. So many roads. Visits to Maine, my garden, which he made good-natured fun of, trips with Sam to Sugarloaf to give Sam a chance to snowboard, and Joel an opportunity to playfully diss my choice of habitat and life in winter, and a chance to hang with Laura and I and play joyfully with Ben and Julia. Julia and David's wedding, 2013. Getting locked out of the condo, stuck on the porch with Jeff and Bob, Joel in his underwear. Annual fall golf trips with Jeff, Bob, and myself. The most recent, this past October, our 20th year. Most of those trips to Pinehurst, North Carolina, where we played shitty golf at really nice golf courses. We sipped cocktails on our private balcony overlooking the third hole of Pinehurst number 3 and cavorted into the night like college kids we have continued to be while we watched World Series games, Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, Nationals, Astros, Braves. Joel also often reminding us of trivia related to series of the past or players of the past, competing with Jeff for accurate recollections. Bob and he treating themselves to a butt or two, and all of us sharing tokes of good stuff. We had over 50 years of friendship, Buffalo and Cambridge. The house on Northrop Street, Jeff, Michael, Kevin, Michael Putter, Terry, Marcus, and Izzy. 3 amazing Saturday night parties with kegs of beer, and the floor of the apartment heaving and bouncing with the weight of dancers boogieing through the night. Sharing and supporting his and Arnie's effort to get a 4F deferment to avoid the draft and the road to Vietnam. How painful that was. So many roads. Cambridge, after his return from Arizona. Wise up, Della. I can't speak about Arizona. I wasn't there. I hope somebody will. A house on Warwood Place, shared with Bob. Thanks, Stan. Principal of a school for kids with issues. They were lucky to have him. Urban Blight softball in the Cambridge League. Joel's grit and character as a leader and catcher were on display. A fair weather pitch. I can still see him jumping up from behind the plate, throwing his mask off and firing a dart down to third in a pickoff attempt. Monday night cocktails at Joel's on Norfolk Street. His attempt to extend the weekend and share good times. Great homemade egg rolls. The glass jar on the kitchen table to be filled with spare change. It was tagged, "Send Joel to Vegas." He made the trip. And aside, he won the poker tournament on a recent cruise with Linda. He should have gotten a chance to appear on Jeopardy. He came close. He probably would have won. I made a visit to Baltimore in 1980, shortly after he opened the first Wings in Harbor Place. Man, what was Wings good. He was working his ass off. His small apartment within walking distance of Harbor Place served as an off-site storage closet filled with paper products for the business. The Wing years. I was hoping Stan would talk more about the Wing years. So many roads. When such things existed, a personal ad in the Washingtonian, 1986. A great wedding and party in Philly. What a pleasure to meet you, Linda. Paper. I spent the morning with Joel on his rounds to customers and got to see his wonderful rapport with the people he sold to, his dedication to clients. Getting them what they needed, no matter how unreasonable, in the moment was truly amazing. We went to the catering service one morning at GWU, and the depth of the relationship with the people he dealt with and the respect and appreciation they had for him was clearly evident. I hope someone today talks about his life at Acme. His dedication, devotion to Linda, Sam, and Molly, unmatched, over the top. From my view, always supportive of Linda's challenging and precious vital work. For Sam, giving whatever, whenever it was needed. For Molly, love, care, guidance to support on her journey. So many roads. My first meeting and interaction with Joel is illustrative of who he was, I think, for all of us. I had transferred from Wisconsin to Buffalo. I spent my first month in an apartment with 2 people I didn't know. It was not the family living arrangement I envisioned for my college life. I was not happy with the situation. I didn't know Joel. He was living with Bob Blackman, Sandy Robeck, and Eileen Brand on North Drive in Buffalo. Eileen, a friend of my sister Bonnie's, invited me to dinner on a Sunday night. Joel and I bonded. The basement was unoccupied, and Joel offered it to me and helped me move my mattress down there the next week. I had found my family for my time in Buffalo, and it was Joel. His caring and generosity were his spirit and essence. We love you and we will miss you. So many roads. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Next speaker, Jerry Collins, another friend. Jerry Collins. Not here? Okay.
Oh, here.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jerry Collins, and I didn't know that I was going to be asked to speak. So there's a lot of things. I don't have to? Oh, well, I was called on. I've known Joel, I told him about a month ago. He asked me how long we've known each other, and I told him 50 years and 2 months. And I was one of the people in the house he lived in Tucson, Arizona. I was walking down the street one day in Arizona, and I think I was going to give blood for $5, and because I needed the $5. And a bus stopped, a van stopped, and people got out, and they were from my hometown. And they told me they were staying at this place with some people, and I could go and stay for a weekend. And, so we were young and we were drinking, and I was calling Joel Joe for about 2 days. And we went up to Mount Lemon, a number of us, and we had a good time. And when I came down off the mountain, I knew nobody was ever going to ask me to leave. And so I wound up staying for 8 months. And then over the years, I just wound up living in different places where Joel lived. We both wound up in Boston. And my drinking problem continued, by the way, and Joel was the guy who got me sober. It's as simple as that. I haven't had a drink now in over 47 years, and it is because of Joel more than anybody. And what's really powerful about that is that I was an obnoxious drunk, and I think only Joel he was just the sort of person who had the sort of patience to deal with me and to get it through. He introduced me to his friends, Mike and Laura Rifkin, who were very nice to me. I used to go to their house. They were great cooks. And I would fall asleep with my head in the pasta, but they still were very supportive. And so that's one of the things that I'll always remember and value and love Joel for. But I will say that everything everybody else has said and what Stan was talking about, Joel's big heart, Joel had the biggest heart of anybody I know, and he really extended it to me, and he was just one of the most powerful influences on my life. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Robert Perlstein, his brother-in-law. Oh, sorry. Margie Morgan.
I'm not going after my brother. He speaks really well. Hi, I am Linda's sister, Margie. I have known Joel since I was 14 or 15 years old, which is almost all my life. It took me a while to get to know Joel and, shall we say, his openness. He was direct from the beginning of our relationship, which as a teenager was hard for me. I mean, aren't teenagers always right and smarter than everyone else? As I matured, so did my relationship with Joel. I think he had a soft spot for me when I got divorced. Or maybe I just opened up my eyes a little bigger to see real life. When I read all my texts from him over the past 3 or 4 years, I saw how much Joel cared for me. My boyfriend Steve also pointed that out. Yes, singing in the kitchen was really annoying. And yes, the loafing around in a bathrobe bothered my mom and me. However, all those annoyances were nothing compared to the support and love and caring he showed me. forget about me. He was an amazing father to Molly and to Sam. He loved you very much, both of you. And my sister, he really loved you. He would text me all the time. I want to do something special for Linda's birthday. Can you help me with ideas for gifts? He would text me on the side when Linda was bothered by my words or text and encourage me to reach out to you. Joel was excellent with my parents, especially when he visited them. He would sit and talk to Dad, right, Mom? Did you hear her? Wouldn't he? He would sit and talk to Dad about what, I have no idea. But then my mom would leave with Linda to get out of the apartment. So speaking for my mom, she learned to appreciate the great man Joel was. And speaking for myself, I will miss his texts of encouragement and support and love. You are a great daughter. Sorry we don't live closer. How is the sty in your eye doing? Thinking of you for no reason. Thanks for setting up your parents' room. 2 recent experiences with Joel was visiting colleges in Washington, D.C. with my 3 daughters. We saw Linda and Joel a bunch over the 3-day weekend. He wrote, "Thanks for the bonding. I really was happy to spend time with you and the kids. Pass that along to them." The second experience was Joel meeting my boyfriend, Steve. They really liked each other a lot. They talked music, Grateful Dead, and they both were excellent at Jeopardy. They enjoyed each other's companies. What a great weekend down the shore we had a couple months ago with Molly also. Joel was in the pool with the vodka and singing away, very happy. I will treasure that last memory of him. Thank you.
We know already.
One more.
Okay. Robert Pearlstein.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Linda's brother, Robert. First things first, where did you get the paisley duvet here? I'm sure he would have loved it. He would have loved it. Hello, Joel. Thank you for bringing us all together, although I'm not so much in favor of your methods. Joel, I want to talk to you about what an adoring and caring husband you are. But I'll leave that up to Linda. But I will tell you that all of us appreciate your constant support of our sister and all of her family. As the attentive and loving father, I'll leave that up to Sam and Molly. But I will tell them how proud your father was to see you grow up and your many accomplishments. It's not easy to grow up. But the wisdom and care that Dad gave you helped in so many ways. As the kid brother, and only Marilyn can best describe you, I did not have the cherished opportunity to know you as the goofy brother growing up. But I'll tell you that we share that goofiness, and perhaps that was, Linda aside, part of our bonding together. As a son-in-law, my parents must thank you over and over again for your love and attention to us. At all times, your caring opinions were clearly heard and will continue to influence us in the future. As an uncle, you were the best. It's like a father without the rules, providing love, guidance without the parental baggage. Thank you. Thank you for being a wonderful uncle and great uncle as well. Similar to Billy the Kid, Jesse James, Butch Cassidy, Joel, you remember the Outlaws. along with Stan, Janie, and Nancy. You led the Outlaws, and every time there was a matriarchal comment that the Outlaws could not believe, they looked at Joel. Did she really say that? However, as our brother-in-law, we absolutely appreciate and adore you for your love and support of our family, especially at family holiday gatherings, for your fresh and meaningful perspective of our family, and mostly for being our brother and our friend. We have been surprised at times with your thoughts and viewpoints at family discussions, and yet we realize that there are many truths to your words, truths that brought to light items that perhaps our own eyes were half closed to. Thank you so much for this, and your words will continue to guide our family in all of our thinking, our actions, our future. Joel taught me that there really are many ways to view everything in our lives, and that it doesn't matter necessarily what is right or what is wrong, but to respect a person's different approach and the way they may see the world. We had talked about the author Carlos Castaneda, the Grateful Dead's music and culture, and your many adventures that you had becoming the person that we all know and love today. We talked about the fact that there is really no single correct way. The fork doesn't have to go on the left side of the plate. And I thank you for that. I spoke to Joel several times in past days. Last Thursday afternoon, I spoke with Joel as he was leaving rehab, where he told me how excited he was to get the hell out of here and finally go home. The week before, my wife Nancy approached me in our living room as I was practicing guitar and said, "Joel's on the phone, play a song for him." And I have absolutely no idea, really, why I picked Jimmy Cliff's "The Harder They Come." But he instantly recognized the introduction and he started singing. I was silent. "It's pie up in the sky, waiting for me when I die." Dear Joel, the way you have lived your life, there are many, many pies up in the sky for you. And I know that one day we will share many slices a la mode together in heaven, as long as our wives are still alive and they don't see us. Goodbye, Joel. We will always and forever love you, and we will forever and always miss you.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody who spoke so beautifully. As we conclude the service, just a few announcements. I'll sing the El Mali Rachamim, and then we'll ask the pallbearers to come forward. And after the body leaves, ask you to go to your cars as quickly as possible so we can get to Mount Lebanon, where he's going to be buried. There will be a meal of condolence at the late residence after the burial, and there will be 2 Shiva minions tonight and tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Tonight and tomorrow night, 7 p.m., Shiva minions at the late residence, 7533 Morningside Drive, Northwest. Please rise. El Male Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, B'malot, Kedoshim Udehorim, Kezohar Arakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Yoel, Ben Avraham Umalka, Shehalach Leolamo, Began Eden Temenuchato, Ana Ba'al Rachamim, Hastirehu B'Seiter Knafecha Leolamim, וצרור בצרור החיים עד נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Joel Appelbaum, who is gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is now his portion. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Pallbearers, come forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the service for Mr. Appelbaum. If you could please let the casket go through the aisle and out the door before you move, and then let the family proceed afterwards. If you're going to the cemetery, please put on your bright headlights and four-way flashers, and please return to your vehicles as quickly as you can. Those of you who are not going to the cemetery, if you could just be patient, as we have to get everybody out of the lot before you can leave as well. Again, those who are serving as pallbearers, please step forward.
She's coming.
And if we could have 3 on each side.
לא תירא מפחד לילה, מחץ יעוף יומם, מדבר באופו יהבו, מכתב ישוט צהריים, יפול מציצך אליך, ורבבה מימינך, אליך לא ייגש. רק בעיניך תביט, בשילומת רשעים תראה, כי אתה, אדוני, מחסי עליון, שמת לאוזניך. לא תאונה לך רעה, ונגע לא יקרא באוהלך, כי מלאך יצב לך, לשמורך בכל דרכך. על כפיים יישאונך. תן תיגוף אבן רגלך, על שחל ופתן תדרוך, ירמוס יביר בתנים. הביא חשך ואכלתהו, אשר בותהו ידעו. ועיניהו יבוא אנוכי בצרה, אכלתהו ואכלתהו. אורך ימים משביעהו ויראהו בישועתי. אורך ימים משביעהו ויראהו בישועתי. אורך ימים משביעהו ויראהו בישועתי. אורך ימים משביעהו ויראהו.
Place the casket on the rolling device and just walk with the casket until the next person has them. And gentlemen, if you could return when you go to the cemetery, if you could gather to the horses quickly as you can.